Western Union intervenes. A warning from Mr. Heem. New assignment from the sports desk, and a savage invitation from the police. Suddenly, I felt guilty again. The shark! Where was it? I tossed the paper aside and began to pace. Losing control, I felt my whole act slipping. And then I saw the car swooping down a ramp in the next door garage. Deliverance! I grasped my leather satchel and moved forward to meet my wheels. Mr. Duke! The voice came from over my shoulder. Mr. Duke, we've been looking for you. I almost collapsed on the curb. Every cell in my brain and body sagged. No, I thought. I must be hallucinating. There's nobody back there. Nobody calling. It's a paranoid delusion, amphetamine psychosis. Just keep walking towards the car, always smiling. Mr. Duke, wait. Well, why not? Many fine books have been written in prison, and it's not like I'll be a total stranger up there in Carson City. The warden will recognize me, and the con boss. I once interviewed them for the New York Times, with a lot of other cons, guards, and cops and assorted hustlers who got ugly by mail when the article never appeared. Why not, they asked. They wanted their stories told, and it was hard to explain in those circles that everything they told me went into the wastebasket, or at least the dead-end file, because the lead paragraphs I wrote for that article didn't satisfy some editor 3,000 miles away. Some nervous drone behind a gray Formica desk in the bowels of a journalistic bureaucracy that no con in Nevada will ever understand, and that the article finally died on the vine, as it were, because I refused to rewrite the lead for reasons of my own. None of Mitch would make much sense in the yard, but what the hell? Why worry about details? I turned to face my accuser, a small young clerk with a big smile on his face and a yellow envelope in his hand. I've been calling your room, he said. Then I saw you standing outside. I nodded, too tired to resist. By now, the shark was beside me, but I saw no point in even tossing my bag into it. The game was up. They had me. The clerk was still smiling. This telegram just came for you, he said. But actually, it isn't for you. It's for somebody called Thompson. But it says, care of Raoul Duke. Does that make sense? I felt dizzy. It was too much to absorb all at once. From freedom to prison and then back to freedom again, all in 30 seconds. I staggered backwards and leaned on the car, feeling the white folds of the canvas top beneath my trembling hand. The clerk, still smiling, was poking the telegram at me. I nodded, barely able to speak. Yes, I said finally. It makes sense. I accepted the envelope and tore it open. It was a telegram from Western Union. I was just reading a little bit of Hunter S. Thompson's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and other American stories. Hey, Dan. Hey, screen that used to be Max. How's it going? Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. Had a little bit of a book there to read. Has a little Western Union in it. Maybe that'll tie in later. Couldn't get the phone calls working this morning. They did a great thing with the software. You ever load up your familiar software, you're expecting your settings, everything should be there, right? And they're like, no, we've upgraded your software. We got rid of all your settings, and we just reminded you about the dentist. So I'm going to have to go to the dentist soon, so we're going to have to do a quick 30-minute Bitcoin talk show. We're going to be really fast. Max, say hello to the people. How's it going?
Hello, the people. What's up, peers? I hope you're all doing well. I hope you enjoyed that reading, and I hope you're enjoying to accumulate more Bitcoin knowledge. And let's talk Bitcoin, because that's always the joy. So, Crypto Raptor, Dan, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm fantastic, as they say on the continent. I'm also stacking sats in both knowledge and little mini sats that are the teeny little biddies of bits, and I promise I won't talk too long because Tom needs to go to the dentist. But what is cool, sorry, is just that I've just made a cup of coffee in this, which is the Bitcoin white paper abstract mug, which hopefully CoinFest, there'll be some more there at CoinFest this year.
Very cool. And let's just get started this morning on Bitcoin Talk Show. Google is showing the toolbar, not full screen, is full screen, back and forth. We're having a good time. The price of Bitcoin is down 0.27% in the last 24 hours, with a last of $39.84, a high of $4,007, and a low of $3,971. That's $1 for 25,100 Satoshis, a nice round number, making it easy to do the math. Our top story, a sad joke. Well, it's getting funny already because Bitcoin Cash is in the headline. Bitcoin Cash's lead coder quits the Bitcoin Unlimited project. Look at his impressive, truly a goatee. It's like a goat. He's got it hanging down there. He gets a lot of women. But no, he's got cool facial hair. Amari Seche, a leading developer of Bitcoin Cash, is renouncing his membership in one of the projects that paved the way for the controversial cryptocurrency. Alliteration, 2 points for Gryffindor. He's sticking with Bitcoin Cash as the lead developer of the code implementation Bitcoin ABC. This makes a lot of sense to consumers, but he's unhappy with the direction of Bitcoin Unlimited, a code implementation that arguably got Bitcoin Cash off the ground as one of the first implementations to increase Bitcoin's bloated block size parameter. Ooh, so there it is right there. The Bitcoin Cash developer has left Bitcoin ABC, or he's left Bitcoin Unlimited, but he's still working for Bitcoin ABC. Max, what do you think? Much ado about nothing?
Wait, there was a Bcash developer? I didn't know that. That came really unexpected. What is he working on? Is he actually doing something? I thought they just copy Bitcoin, like the real Bitcoin stuff. But well, great to know that someone is actually doing something there. I guess no longer. So let's see. Is there going to be more improvements to Bcash? I doubt it, but maybe the next upgrade to, of course, 1 terabyte blocks and only 10 seconds of block time. That is going to need lots of development time, because right, you have to like increase numbers and such, and change variables. That is really difficult, and right, that means you really need to have new developers. So someone has got to pick up here the work and make sure that Bcash is going to continue its great success towards a value of 0, and that is a very difficult task, and it shouldn't be taken lightly.
They're also going to need an entire team to keep working on the naming schemes. Instead of the BIP, Bitcoin Improvement Project, they have the BWIP, the BUIP, the Bitcoin Unlimited Improvement Project. So stealing this names is going to take a lot of work. We need a whole team working on it. Crypto Raptor, what do you think? Can I get you a new developer? There's seems to be plenty of them.
Well, I'll take it. Is he not migrating back to, or migrating over to Bitcoin? That would be a good sign if Bcash developers start leaving in droves for Bitcoin, realizing that they've made a mistake. But the problem is with crypto is that it is this really kind of polarizing, religiousness about it. There's the politics is so intense, and the problem is when you fight so passionately for a specific cause, like saying that you prefer Bitcoin Cash over Bitcoin. Once you've made that kind of step, it's hard to kind of turn back and sort of really go, oh yeah, I screwed up. What an idiot I am. So I think that personally, the less Bitcoin Cash developers, the better.
And you could always just fork Bitcoin again, and then fork it again, and then fork it again. Bitcoin's biggest potential competitor discussed at an MIT conference. And there he is, Peter Todd, our hero with the messed up hair. Peter was called Applied Cryptography Consultant, Peter Todd. And at a recent meeting of the 2019 MIT Bitcoin Expo, there was a debate which turned out to be more of a discussion about permissionless cryptocurrency networks like Bitcoin. They said that Bitcoin doesn't compete with Visa or MasterCard, but Peter Todd, famous contrarian, who's been interviewed here several times on the World Crypto Network, says, when you look at the history of Western Union, it's mostly a history of dodging regulations all around the world and paying billions of dollars worth of fines and fees and so on to make this happen, says Todd. Of course, we don't recognize that because we just go to see the friendly Western Union agent. But that's what's actually happening in the background there. And it's a constant for them. how do we keep running in these crazy countries? He says that Western Union and perhaps the abandoned project by the Royal Canadian Mint, who once created their own cryptocurrency called Mint Chip, were the true competitors of Bitcoin. Max, what do you think? Western Union and Mint Chip?
Mint chip, absolutely. They are going to destroy Bitcoin's censorship resistance and immutability and unchangeability aspect of the sound Libre money, which Bitcoin is. Piers, I guess we're finished here. We got to pick up. They're much better, and we have no chance, absolutely. So we had a good try. Maybe next time. But for now, we are going to use Money Chip or whatever the name was. But no, seriously, I don't really know what the biggest competitor is. And I think it's something like WeChat, something that is very intuitive and very user-friendly, or rather user-friendly, and that then gains a huge network effect. And that is really difficult to outplay. And especially right when it has really bad best practices implemented, like no privacy or no individual independence and sovereignty, and easy censorship and stuff like this, like we see with WeChat. But the problem is when then the entire community is using this means of payment or this money wallet software, then we are going to really have an issue of breaking that network effect, especially because this will likely have a similar user experience to what Bitcoin has, at least from scanning a QR code and pressing send. And then no longer Bitcoin has the UX improvement as it does to, for example, something like traditional wire transfers or something. So I think something like Apple Pay that is very much censored and made to spy on you might be a bigger risk than any like traditional bank products.
It can compete with Bitcoin in many of the value sending transfer ways, but it can never compete with the censorship resistance. It's just whether or not consumers value that. The question is, will it, like Max says, will it be WeChat, Facebook Coin, or the yellow envelopes that once saved Hunter S. Thompson? Maybe they'll make a digital version of Western Union. Crypto Raptor, what do you think about Western Union and Mint Chip?
Well, actually, I find that quite interesting because I almost went to work for Kashar as the COO, sort of beginning of 2017. And this before they were kind of doing the ICO thing. And the reason why I kind of really liked the project was because it was tackling the international remittance service, which people get extremely ripped off all over the place. And the fees that people pay to send money via Western Union are actually pretty huge. Now, whether that's just because of the general clunky, old, crappy infrastructure with the dated, ping pong of middlemen in between, sending a simple payment, or whether it's just Western Union fees, there's definitely a market for international remittance to improve, especially for people at the kind of lower end of the scale, who, if it's a set charge, someone sending £100 back and paying £10 for it, they're impacted a huge amount more than someone who's going to be paying, sending $1 million and only, being charged 1,000 for it, or however, So I do think that it's definitely a point that needs to be tackled. And actually, some in news I heard today was that I think Stellar, Western Union is partnered with a company that actually uses Stellar, and so that seems like quite well timed, actually. That maybe it was maybe that's the reason why they asked that question specifically. So it does look like, obviously, that it could be a bit of a competitor. They are pairing up with a traditional distribution model that's already set in stone. It's already a worldwide name, and I think that on a competitor for Bitcoin, I think, as Max said, WeChat's actually a really good one, but also anything where there's an existing network of people that can take over. I mean, if Facebook brought out a currency, people, well, if you were using it, then you probably still trust it, and thus you'll probably buy into that notion. And likewise for any of these other platforms, I think that's why Twitter could be such a cool thing. If Jack implements Lightning as a button in Twitter, I think that's going to do incredibly good for Bitcoin, and that's good news that Jack is into Bitcoin. He supports Bitcoin. He supports the open source part as well, which is kind of the more important part of it. I think it's one of the kind of pillars of Bitcoin. And so having someone like that on our side from a community perspective, it's got a huge reach. If he wants to roll out Bitcoin, he can then be or Twitter can then be the vessel that is able to compete with something that already has a huge network effect, like Western Union, like Facebook, etc.
So many times in the world of crypto, you see people that get good press, and it's almost like they wrote it themselves. And maybe it's because they did. Moving on to our next issue, Saifedean Ammous, Bitcoin's favorite economist, says that Bitcoin is not a bubble, disagreeing with many other people who say Bitcoin's just a bubble and going to away. He shows right here the picture of the housing bubble and saw housing prices triple in around 20 years, then lose around 40% over a few years. And of course, many people expect this housing bubble to just continue going back up and then back down as it continues a boom and bust cycle upward. Max, what do you think? We've seen the price of Bitcoin go up. We've seen it go down. Is Bitcoin just a bubble, or is it more than that?
Well, I would say it is a bubble, and it shows characteristics of bubbles. But the question is, what are the cause of bubbles? And that is always an increase in the money supply, because that leads to malinvestment and overconsumption, which ultimately leads to a bunch of misallocation of resources, which ultimately we have to pay for by losing a lot and destroying capital and wealth again. And that is how markets function only if you increase the money supply artificially by stealing from someone else. And the thing is, there is inflation in the fiat system. And that leads to malinvestment in a bunch of things, and including like stocks and bonds and other incumbent financial systems. But I would argue that it also leads to malinvestments in Bitcoin. They might be justified investments, right? Because Bitcoin is kind of the hedge, but it still leads to a misallocation of resources that we otherwise would not have. Thus, I would say that there is a incentive there is a cause of the bubbles that we see here in Bitcoin. And I would say that mainly it's in the fiat system. But also, let us not forget that Bitcoin has had in the past a tremendously high issuance rate. And the different importance here is that the issuance is not theft. You voluntarily agree to use Bitcoin, and you voluntarily agree to these issuance schedules, which you do not do in the fiat realm. In the fiat realm, you're forced to use the currency. Thus, it is theft. Thus, it is inflation. Bitcoin does not have inflation, but still, the increase in the money supply, the increase in the issuance rate, is still something that might have tendencies to lead to malinvestments and to overconsumptions. And thus, there is absolutely cause for bubbles in Bitcoin. And that's why we see them, massive price bubbles and purchasing power volatility. But I wager as soon as we move out of the fiat realm and into an age where the Bitcoin issuance rate is extremely low, as we will see soon in the next halvening and the halvening afterwards, I think then we will truly see the power of Bitcoin as a monetary phenomena to provide a very stable economic growth without these boom and bust cycles, because there is no longer any inflation in that scenario.
Dan Eve, is Bitcoin a bubble?
It's a good question. I mean, I think to a certain extent it was in a bubble. I mean, you could, if you think about what, if the description of a bubble, it's something that inflates a lot and then kind of pops and goes back down. Now, that's not to say the bubble dies. I think that if on a metaphorical level, the bubble, the Bitcoin is the liquid that could create a bubble. So the bubble may have gone, but the liquid's still there to create another bubble at a certain point because of runaway inflation, which in Bitcoin's case would just be the runaway deflation of fiat. So we like to think that Bitcoin was in a bubble, but I think it's almost like if you look at the opposite end of the spectrum, US dollars was in a bear market because people were getting the hype about Dave Brown. Because they're getting lost with the hype of Bitcoin, and I think people ran away, their ideas and imagine ran away with what Bitcoin could do compared to what it was actually doing back then. And let's remember, it was just after the fork. Transaction costs were very high. The fees were very high, and there was, I remember quite a few times where I was waiting for a long time for certain blocks. So I think that kind of the price ran away from the utility of Bitcoin briefly. But even if we do get rid of all fiat, so say we got rid of all fiat and we have just one big coin. There's no drachma, there's no dollars, no lira, no pounds, all that, and we just have Bitcoin. We still probably would see bubbles in other places because of the fact that you trade Bitcoin for a goat or a pint of beer, or so there's still that kind of, there's still markets where you're using Bitcoin against something else. But I just think it would, if it's not, I don't think it's really going to be possible. I can't see it happening in my lifetime. I'd love to, but if you imagine Bitcoin, if Bitcoin was the world currency, imagine all the countries came to an agreement and Bitcoin became the one world currency. Apart from the sad thing that loads of very rich treasurers will lose their jobs because there's no function for them anymore. The fact is that imagine how simple the model of life becomes. There's all these structures that we've got in place with these international money transfers, people creaming off the top. No, you don't think? No?
Nothing's good about simple. You're like, how simple it will be for a dictator to roll in or a strong man to control everything, and how simple for a cabal of people to take power and control. If only there weren't all these restraints, we could just roll right through and have this thing wrapped up by lunchtime. No, I think it'll be a different world, but it will never be a simple world. So we'll have to see if Bitcoin's a bubble or not. Looking at the chart right now, we're of course going to do some chart prediction here. Look at all those little green ones kind of stair-stepping up at the end if you really zoom out. See, if you really want to understand charts, you have to zoom out, then enhance, enhance, enhance. Oh, it looks totally different now. See, now before I was just like, oh, this is cool. I'm long-term bullish. But now I'm like short-term bearish, but I'm also feeling kind of bullish. So I've got both feelings. Check out Max's upcoming events page. I want to talk about some of these. Dan and I are going to be going to CoinFest in Manchester in just a few days. Then we're going to be joining Max at Understanding Bitcoin in Malta. So if you're going to be in Manchester or Malta, we're only going to places that have M in the title. Then Max is going to Bolt-a-thon, Lightning Conference.
Which is a cyberspace event. So this is going to be I will do one class here on the economics of the Lightning Network. So that's going to be interesting.
I love a cyberspace event. Then we're going to all be joining Max, hopefully, at Blockchain Hotel in Essen, Germany. Very cool conference. Then at Breaking Bitcoin in Amsterdam. Sounds good. Don't know about Chain Hack. That's happening after Breaking in Amsterdam. We might go to that. Then I hope that we're all going to go to Unchained Berlin. We're going to go to Unchained in Berlin. That's going to be a cool conference. Then meeting up again for the Baltic Honey Badger in Latvia, and then HCPP. And I don't know. Oh, and then, yeah, Transylvania Crypto Conference. We're going to try to go to that too. So there's a lot of conferences going on here in the World Crypto Network. This is Max's list. There it is, HCPP. All right. And then in October, it ends. So this season starts now in May or April here, March, April. It's going to be April. And it goes all the way. So it's a 6-month conference season. It's coming up right here on the World Crypto Network. We hope to get you lots of interviews and stuff. I've been posting stuff on my Medium. It's fun, mainly about movies. You could read that if you want. Links are on Mad Bitcoins, at Mad Bitcoins Twitter. We're heading towards the end of the show. I just wanted to thank everyone for donating to the Mad Bitcoins fundraiser for the UK. I'm going to go to the UK, film a bunch of interviews. I'm going to go to Malta, film a bunch of interviews, and then I'm going to put them up right here on the World Crypto Network for free. So if you want to help me defray costs from travel, airplanes are expensive, trains are expensive, hotel rooms are expensive, food's even expensive sometimes. You have no idea what's going to happen to you. You can follow the trip on Twitter. I have lots of updates. You can donate now. You can pause the video. Go get your smartphone and your Ledger and your Trezor and all the things that you need before you spend Bitcoin. We're following you in the chat. Jeremy says it's a hockey stick down. Rolando says it depends on the triangle. Draw a triangle. So we need to draw a triangle to really understand charts. We're also hoping that the dog can join the conversation. They're announcing Zap Desktop 0.40 beta. So check that out. Mac, Windows, Linux. Check that out. Shout out to Jack Maulers. Hey, look,
Yeah,
he's
that is
got
actually Tom's
your
a
network connection
great
is
update.
failing.
So just seeing here the user experience update that came in, a lot of additional complexities here and nuances. For example, now the channel management page really has all the interesting things that you have all at a glance, or you can minimize it, right, and see just the very basic details here. So this really is a great new update. And one thing that is really cool, oh yeah, he also suggested notes. I'm not so sure about that feature, to be honest. I guess it really depends here how good the autopilot is, or if these are like paid promotions or something. So really have to dig down here in the details. But here also the opening channel now. It looks really good. You can now also choose exactly what fee you want to pay, or if you want to keep this channel private, which is really, really cool. So definitely a big plus. And also, just in general, as we know it, the really beautiful graphics. And here is the main awesome thing that I want to point out: a neutrino implementation on mainnet. It is happening, peers. We have Neutrino now finally running on Zap desktop. Still in beta, still very early stuff. So be careful. But with this here, you can use a light client. So you don't have a full verification of the Bitcoin blockchain, but you still preserve your privacy, which is really good. And that is really nice. Plus, I also want to point out that with the nodl that you can get at nodl.it, we have already the LN Quick Connect setting or version here that was in the new LND client introduced. And with this, you can press one click here in the nodl interface, admin interface, and it will automatically open the version of Zap on your local machine, on your local desktop or laptop. And then it will automatically connect your Zap to your own full node. So you don't even need the neutrino feature. You actually have the full verification of the blockchain. That is awesome. So the nodl is very good integrated here with this beautiful Lightning Network wallet. And I'm stoked to what to what Jack has built here. So follow him as well. Give him a shout out. He really deserves our thanks. That is an awesome piece of software.
Max is all fired up. Don't forget to donate to Max's tally coin. He took it off the screen there, but you can rewind and pause it. Donate to Max.
And plus, wait, talking about Telecon. Okay, sorry for hijacking again, but this is an awesome new feature that you can yourself set up on your own personal website with just 2 lines in the command line, so or in the page of your or file of your website. So this is the Tallycoin widget right here. You can have a custom text like toss max some sats. You click on that, and it will here show you how many sats or how many Bitcoin you want to donate. And then let's say you want to send me 1 Satoshi. You click here on generating this with the Lightning Network, and it will give you a QR code that you can easily scan with your Lightning Network wallet. And let's see if that payment goes through in time to show the awesome animation of it actually being received. I hope so, but it might take a little bit. Lightning Network is not as lightning fast.
All right, we'll keep the camera on you. Dan, do you have anything to say? Tell the people what we're going to be doing soon. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm really pumped for. Oh, by the way, Izzy says hi. She wouldn't leave me alone. So I'm pumped for CoinFest. I think it's going to be really cool. I think I'll be on the Thursday night. I'll be doing a kind of a crypto entertainment set. It's not a rap set. I'm not a rapper. Just in case any people who like rap hate me because it's bad. But it's going to be fun. That's the main thing. And then Friday night, we've got a World Crypto Network Bitcoin group show. We're going to do live from CoinFest, which will be sweet. Then Tom and I will mission out in extremely early on Saturday morning to go to Malta So then we'll be hooking up with Max and Adam Back and co at the and Tone Bays at the Understanding BTC conference, which would be absolutely awesome. And I might see if I can squeeze myself on a stage there as well if you're there. So if you're in Manchester around the 4th to the 6th, come over to the CoinFest, and there's tickets are free. If you're in Malta, hop over to Understanding BTC, which is in Slima, and it's 5th to 7th of Malta. I think it's Understand BTC as the Twitter account if you want to check it out. And then just as a little kind of, I wanted to do a teaser today. Actually quite topical, as Max has just been talking about the Zap wallet. But I'm very imminently, when I get some minor issues sorted, me and my team from TripKey will be rolling out our hotel platform. So I was going to do a live demo of booking a hotel using Lightning in under 1 minute. But we're not quite there yet. So keep an ear out. And yeah, and then you'll be able to use 8 different cryptos and pay for your hotel. Which is incredibly useful if you travel around to conferences a lot and you have to use fiat money.
Very cool. Check that out at TripKey. And Max's animation hasn't come through yet. Oh, we're running out of time, though. Still a chance. They're saying in the chat they want to come visit us. You should come visit us in Malta or Manchester. And then after that, we'll be going back to the UK and continuing the Castles and Wales trip as previously planned. So we're running out of time. I want to thank Apple Notifications for telling me about the dentist appointment, even though I probably would have rather forgotten about it. I'm going to go brush my teeth and go to the dentist. That's my pro tip. Everyone should go to the dentist and brush their teeth. We'll probably try to do the Bitcoin group maybe a day early on Thursday. I have to start everything a day earlier then. I'm flying out of here on Friday. I'm going to be in the UK soon. Then CoinFest. Then, boom, Malta, Understanding Bitcoin, then back to the UK, several meetups and stuff, and then back to the US. So keep an eye on @MadBitcoin's Twitter for more updates. As always, subscribe down below, give us a thumbs up and a share. Follow @WorldCryptoNet on Twitter. Until next time, bye-bye.